Alright, let me show you something real quick. There's 2 draws. Alright, both those were exactly 2-second draws. Yeah, it's literally just efficiency of movement is everything. Alright, why are you going to listen to some rando online, huh? Tell you how to draw? Well, you probably shouldn't, but check this out. Wait, it's coming up. There it is. Oh.
One of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life.
Alright, we're going to be going over how I do my draw, some changes I made to get me past that 1.25 second plateau, and probably most importantly, how to train your draw and a few drills and some other considerations towards the end. This is going to get to a pretty insane level of detail, but I think that's what it takes to get a really good draw, so hang in there, keep fighting the good fight, it just takes some time. Why do you need a sub-second draw, you ask? Well, if you're unbelievably insecure and just debilitatingly anxious about what sort of situation you could find yourself in, and you just are never quite sure if your draw is going to be fast enough, baby, then you should probably have a sub-second draw. But other than that, you already went far enough to carry a gun with you and probably medical gear. Right, guys? Why would you stop at that and just call it good enough? Did you buy a security system for your house and install it, but then not hook it up? Oh, well, I have it, and it's there, but it doesn't work and I can't use it. No, if you have the gear, you need to be able to make sure you can actually use it. And a half second faster, or even a second and a half faster, if you have a 2.5 second draw right now, makes a huge difference as to when you could even attempt to draw your weapon in a counter ambush sort of situation. And yes, there's the whole FBI statistics, 3 yards, whatever kind of shooting. But besides that, I want to know that I have the ability to give out pinpoint accuracy at up to 35, 45 yards in less than 1.5 seconds. Specifically, if you're worried about your kids being around, being at a park, some crap starts going down, being at church with 400 people around, someone starts shooting. These are all really high-risk situations where if you don't have the confidence in your speed and accuracy, you could make a decision that you'll regret for the rest of your life, whether it's just freezing up and getting the bed when your time to rid the world of evil comes, or you decide to whip that bad boy out and wing a few shots off into the crowd past the bad guy before you get checked into your forever hotel by the boys in blue. Point is, if you carry a gun, you should be able to use it. You're the hunter and the protector, not a chimp with an AK. Okay, moving on. You need to decide on what your draw is going to look like if you don't truly know how to draw, and if you've never put in dedicated, slow, and methodical work on your draw stroke, your body position, and your gun path through the various stages of the draw, then you most likely don't really know how to draw. It's probably more just pulling out a gun. That's how it was for me, at least. I'll just go through how I do it, all the cues and techniques that got me to a consistent sub-second draw from concealment. And keep in mind, there are a million different ways to draw. I don't know them all, I haven't tried them all, and I don't plan on it. This is just how I do it. So first things first, clearing your garment if you want to be tactical. Otherwise, you can just do what I do and move your fucking shirt out of the way. I've noticed I think I grab kinda high on my shirt, pretty much right at my belly button. I don't understand how people grab the bottom hem of their shirt. I always miss it. It seems like a difficult target, but if you like it and it works for you, then do it. I grab a full handful. I don't want to mess around with grabbing with the tips of my fingers or anything like that. If it comes down to it and you're in a weird body position, or you just did an oil change on your Tesla and you're freaking out because the guy with the pipe about to cave in your head just winked at you, you're going to miss your shirt and look like a fool while you die at the hands of someone with no training and no firearm. The way I see it, if you can't grab a handful, it's not worth grabbing at all. I grab my handful, I rip that shirt high up and prep my support hand at the same time as I grab my firearm. I grab my gun with my thumb hooked over the slide. I know a lot of people jam their thumb all the way behind the gun. It doesn't really work for me because how my thumb ends up on my final grip, it's, on top of my other thumb, probably like yours. Also, if you're like me and you raw dog that thing and don't wear an undershirt, my thumbnail destroys my sensitive widow's stummy. I start out hearing, don't move your shoulders, don't move your elbows, it's wasted movement, pin them to your sides, and while this all may be well and good, it ain't for me. I agree either way with the shoulders not moving and notice significantly slower times if I let my form slip and let myself start shrugging my shoulders. Specifically, my right shoulder tends to do a pretty crazy shrug. As far as elbows go though, I am way faster and more consistent with letting those things flare out to the sides. I just can't seem to get a comfortable draw with my elbows at my sides. It feels like I'm doing a T-Rex kind of thing. And from an efficiency standpoint, I don't think it's really a bad thing because your shoulders end up in that flared position just before lockout anyways. Basically, don't shrug your shoulders, figure out yourself what your elbows do, but try letting them flare a bit and see if you like it. Alright, little editor's note here. So there is an appropriate amount of shrug. This is obviously too much because it's throwing off my body position. I try to keep it as minimal as possible. I'd say you can allow some as long as it's no higher than they'll end up anyway in your normal shooting stance. Here's a few clips of me with what I would say is an appropriate amount of shrug. Oh, dude, I am loving those vibes, man. Alright, at this point, your gun's in two hands and we gotta talk about path. This is where I've heard a lot of stuff and I need to pull the whole, I'm not a Navy SEAL, I've never been in a gunfight, blah, 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 don't listen to a word I say card. But this is one of those areas I think you can really bleed efficiency. I don't really buy the whole, you gotta get the barrel level ASAP, because if the guy is close to you, you can shoot at any point throughout the draw. No thanks. I think that makes for a bad draw stroke. It just isn't smooth or fast, and that style of shooting at a half draw or intuitive shooting is something that should be specifically trained, and it's a contextual technique. And if I'm ever in that situation where I need to shoot at someone from an arm's length distance, I'm going to do that technique and not push out to a full presentation past their face. Plus, I don't like how that choppy draw stroke looks, and you know I'm a sucker for a good stroke. Okay. I base my draw path off of the straightest distance between two lines is a dot, or I used to bring the gun all the way up to my workspace kind of area, then level with my clavicles, and then press out. Nowadays I try to avoid any 90-degree turns or sharp changes of direction. All that's just an efficiency bleed. Obviously it's not a good idea to do a perfectly straight line, but I do more of a rainbow pattern, just nice and smooth. Once you get up to the last 8 inches or so of your draw is when things start to actually be moving in a straight line. You don't want to be bowling, you don't want to go fishing, you just want a nice straight press out. I was taught to have my muzzle slightly canted upwards during the press, and right at the point of lockout, it levels out and the rear sights raise to each side of the front sight as the shot is being pressed off. And I'm not really sure if this is a carryover meant just for iron sights or not, to be honest, but there is something biomechanical about it that seems to keep the last phase of your draw a lot more stable. I'm not really sure why. This is just what I was taught, and if you've never tried it, I would highly recommend you give it a try. I know for iron sights, it helps you align them a bit faster and more naturally. This is where you can really cheat the timer if you're decent at intuitive shooting, or you can just shoot way before you see your sights and knock off a solid 10th or more off your time. But that is in fact cheating, and no, you can't say you have a sub-second draw if you're not seeing your sights. Sorry boys. The most important part here is that you're prepping your trigger as you're pressing out. Once you get to that high ready position, your fingers should be on the trigger and starting to take up the slack. Just as the gun levels out at the end of the press, I increase the pressure on the trigger and the shot breaks, just as my dot comes into view. And this is where training comes in. You can waste so much time hunting for your dot, and there's no way you're going to get under a second when you're adjusting your grip on your gun so you can see your dot and then fire. This is where the bread meets the butter. A lot of people say you don't have to get that many reps in, maybe 2 weeks and you'll be good to go if you practice correctly. Not in my experience at all. Granted, I started out probably not with the best technique, but at this point I've done over 35,000 dry fire draws and I'm still improving, putting up better and better times. Just to say, after 35,000 reps, I still have not maxed out or even close to it. That being said, I think about 2 months of correct practice should get you there. 100 draws a day for 60 days is 6K total. I think that's enough if you start correctly. The key really is correct practice and cutting out all excess movement and inefficiencies. This is what a normal session looks like for me right now. I'll usually start out with the timer at about 2.5 seconds, then start hitting some nice slow reps. Once I get 3 perfect draws in a row where my dot comes up right where I want, my trigger pull is the bee's knees, my grip is on, thumb pressure is good, and the shot breaks right at the 2.5, no sooner, no later. Then I'll drop it down to 2.0 and do the same thing. After 3 perfect draws at 2.0, I'll drop it down to 1.8, get my 3, then 1.5, then 1.3. From there, I'll step it down 1/10 at a time until I get to like 0.9, and then I'll just try and beat the beep. Once I get 3 that are faster than 0.9 and everything is still perfect, I'll go back, work on any weak points, weird things I felt, take a look at my recording and see if I see anything odd, and I'll usually work those finer details through progressively faster micro drills. So let's break it down. I like breaking it down to smaller movements for training and learning purposes. It's something that applies to a lot of physical things and not just shooting. My violin teacher used to make me do these for scales and whatnot. The basic idea is you can't play an entire scale fast if you can't play the first note to the second note fast, and the second note to the third note fast, etc, etc. And then once you can do each individual piece of the scale quickly, you can put them all together and then do the whole thing fast. I usually break it down into 3 parts. First part is grabbing a hold of your gun. I just clear my shirt and grab the gun, making sure my shirt grab is good, your grip on your weapon's good. From there, I'll maybe do like 20-25 times and slowly get faster and faster. As the speed kicks up, I'm really cueing to move both hands at the same time. Now is the time to really be conscious of your shoulders rising and falling too. Alright, so next we just pick up where we left off with the previous drill. We pull the gun out and meet it up with your support hand. And this is where you can really ingrain the gun path. For me, it's making sure I don't fall into my old ways of doing a sharp 90-degree turn and remembering to join my hands a little bit further out. And again, shoulders. From here, it's just from that modified high ready position to the end. This is super important to have down as far as accuracy and consistency of being able to see your dot. I really focus on the rear sights just coming up to meet the front sight, and at the same time adding pressure to the trigger the whole time while increasing my grip until I'm at my final grip pressure and the trigger breaks. All 3 things coming to fruition at the exact same time, resulting in the perfect, oh so sweet shot. Very satisfying to get right. And remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Not because slow is fast, but because through slow speed, you have the opportunity to build efficiency, and through efficiency, you build speed. I try to keep myself to toss my shirt up in the air when I'm clearing it, and I've noticed a pretty significant difference. Now don't get it twisted, you should not be relying on momentum to carry your shirt up or be tossing it in any way. That being said, I've had issues with my support hand hanging out on my chest for too long and kind of getting stuck there and then being slow to meet my firearm and thinking of it as a toss while still ripping it up and completely controlling it seems to help me get that away from my body faster and onto my gun. It's also common to see someone with a visually fast draw, but their times suck because they're pausing their support hand and leaving it glued to their body. It also gives you a chance to prep your support hand. That way it's ready and in a good position to actually meet up with your gun when your gun crosses over the support hand's position. Alright, the second one we kind of went over already, but it's just when you hear the beep, grab your gun and trust your shirt will be out of the way. Don't be waiting for so long until your left hand is done moving to start moving your right hand. So when I'm doing it, I just think move both hands at the same time. Alright, numero tres. Plucking the gun out of the holster like a chicken plucking grain. It's kind of self-explanatory, but, be the chicken. Peck that thing out of the holster. Don't set your hand and adjust and all that crap. Really drill getting a good grip right away and just pluck it out like you're moving a hot cast iron pan. Okay, number 4 is beats, and this is where things get a little abstract and a little confusing, but I'm gonna try and make this make sense. Basically, I think of most physical or athletic things I'm practicing as beats in my head, 1 beat per motion. So when I'm drawing slow, for example, I think of it as a 4-beat motion. Clear, draw, meet, press. And as you speed up, those beats will have to meld together and smooth out. So speed it up a little bit, and then I think just draw, meet, press. And then I keep speeding it up, and it turns into just 2 beats, and that's just draw, press. I find for me it was completely subconscious, and I was trying to go fast, but I was still doing it in a 4-beat type disjointed draw. So if you're having trouble smoothing things out, try thinking about this and make sure that you're not breaking it down to more than a 2-beat draw. With live fire, the first beat would be the beep and the second beat would be the shot breaking. This is just kind of the final stage of testing. You get that 2-beat draw, press. Okay, a few closing thoughts for you. So, for me, I think shooting is about 70% dry fire, 30% live fire, and draw is not that. It's like 98% dry fire. It's just a weapons manipulation, so it's just like reloading or anything else. It's all built in dry fire. So if, don't waste time out at the range practicing all this stuff. Just get good at shooting. Your draw is a separate thing. Confirm it with live fire. Yes, and when you are confirming it with live fire, do doubles, do triples. If you're made of money, do bill drills, because if you're just doing live fire and you're draw to first shot every time, you're like, cool, getting my time, but then you go do follow-up shots and you can't get a double, you can't get a triple, you can't do those accurately. Oh my gosh, can't do this because my grip sucks, and you got to go rebuild it all again in dry fire. So really make sure you're using your good solid live fire grip and keep yourself accountable when you're dry firing. The other thing is to film yourself. I like filming myself, obviously, but when I'm dry firing, I like filming myself just for a little bit of it, and watch it back, scrub through that thing in slow motion and check and see if you have inefficiencies. You might notice this hand doing some sort of loop, or this hand's just waiting till your shirt's completely cleared and then you move this hand. Or a lot of people have this weird tick where they will draw, put the gun down, pull their shirt down, and then meet their hands and up. And the only way you're going to notice that stuff is by recording yourself and watching it back slow-mo, really see what's going on. Last thing I would say is don't just aim at the same target the entire session. Switch it up, because you can get really good after a few times of practicing of getting that dot to land right on the thing that you've been aiming for the whole time without moving your feet or your body position. So switch it up. Aim for this light switch over here. Aim for that plug over there. Get the lamp. Whatever. Or if you're actually cool and have targets set up, then do that. But switch up your body position, switch up the position your hands are in. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to do the whole USPSA thing, but just a little bit of variance to make sure you're actually getting consistent grip and it's coming up where you want it to go, not just where you've been training for the last 10 minutes, if that makes sense. Well, guys, I think that's pretty much it. If you've sat through this whole video of ADHD ramblings, hats off to you. I appreciate it. If you liked the video, subscribe, and if you didn't like the video, dislike it, man. It's kind of messed up, but, you do you. Alright, see you guys. Thanks for watching.